Howdy gamers and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about how the Game of the Year award is one of the most prestigious accolades in the gaming community, with the winner being hailed as the best of the best. But were those choices always the right ones? In this video, we'll look back at every Game of the Year winner from 2003 to 2012 and ask a big question. Did they truly deserve it, or was there another game that should have taken the crown? Additionally, I'll mainly be referencing the MTV Spike Video Game Awards, as they were the most popular and widely recognized gaming awards show during the 2000s. But anyway, let's get started. In 2003, the winner was Madden NFL 2004. While sports games have their dedicated fan base, this choice raised eyebrows, especially considering the competition that year. Titles like GTA Vice City, Final Fantasy X-2, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and Tony Hawk's Underground were all in contention, each offering groundbreaking experiences that left a lasting impact on gaming. I may not be a fan of sports games, but it's hard to justify Madden winning over those titles, especially in a year that also saw the very first release of Call of Duty, a game that redefined the FPS genre with its intense cinematic war experiences. Looking back, it's surprising that such a monumental year in gaming was topped by a yearly sports release. If I had to choose a true game of the year for 2003, it would easily be Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This game wasn't just an incredible Star Wars experience, it was a groundbreaking RPG that took the foundation of tabletop gaming and brought it to life in a fully realized digital world. KOTOR gave players a freedom to shape their own Jedi or Sith journey with meaningful choices that truly impacted the story. The morality system wasn't just a gimmick. Your actions had consequences, influencing how characters reacted to you and even changing the outcome of the game. It captured the essence of role-playing, making every decision feel weighty and personal. Beyond that, the storytelling was on another level. From the memorable party members like HK-47 with his classic murder meatbag quotes to one of the greatest plot twists in gaming history. KOTOR delivered an experience that stuck with players long after the credits rolled. It wasn't just a great Star Wars game, it was one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Comparing Madden 2004, it's hard to see how KOTOR didn't take the top spot, but you know, it was their first year hosting the VGAs, so we'll give them a break. 2004 was an absolutely stacked year for gaming, and while GTA San Andreas took home the Game of the Year award, the competition was nothing short of legendary. San Andreas is undeniably one of the most beloved entries in the GTA series, introducing a massive open world, RPG-like character progression, but when you look at the other games that released that year, the choice becomes way harder. Halo 2 completely revolutionized online multiplayer, setting the foundation for modern console gaming as we know it. Half-Life 2 pushed gaming physics and storytelling to a whole new level with its immersive world building. Metal Gear Solid 3 delivered one of the most emotional and mechanically rich stealth experiences of all time. And let's not forget Sly 2, Band of Thieves, and Ratchet & Clank up your arsenal. Now those two are my personal favorites, but they're still great games. With a lineup that strong, it's almost impossible to say which game definitely should have won. In my gut, I have to say Halo 2 should have taken the win. Every single mission, that game made you feel like an absolute badass, from delivering the Covenant their bomb back, to riding a piece of debris plummeting from Earth's atmosphere to finish the fight. The sheer scale of the campaign, the introduction of dual wielding, and the ability to play as the Arbiter added so much depth. And when it comes to cultural impact, Halo 2 changed gaming forever with its online multiplayer. Without it, Xbox Live wouldn't have become what it is today. But here's the thing. I have to acknowledge my bias. I never played GTA San Andreas. It's one of those games that people still talk about with deep love and nostalgia, so my opinion might be completely off base. 2005 was a pretty straightforward year, with Resident Evil 4 taking the top spot, and rightfully so. But just because Resident Evil 4 was the obvious choice doesn't mean there weren't other incredible games that year. Fear was actually my first horror game, and it was the one that made me realize that being scared could be fun. The blend of psychological horror and fast-paced gunplay was something truly special. Then there was the beginning of an absolute powerhouse franchise, God of War. We all know how successful that series turned out to be, but it all started here, introducing us to Kratos and his brutal combat style. And let's not forget some other fan favorite classics like Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Shadow of the Colossus, a game that felt more like an emotional experience than just another action adventure. I also want to give a shout out to Call of Duty 2, the big red one, since that was my first Call of Duty game. It was the first time a video game made me feel genuinely sad over a character's death. I'll be amazed if anyone can relate to this specific fictional death, but Private Denley may not be the most talked about character in gaming, but for me, his loss was the moment I realized that war stories and games could be more than just action. They could be emotional. Alright, for 2006, I'm absolutely going to let my bias show, because I firmly believe that Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion was the only real choice of Game of the Year, which it did win. This was the first RPG that truly opened my eyes to the freedom of an open world, the ability to choose how how I wanted to play, level up, and interact with the world made it an unforgettable experience. But what really sets Oblivion apart for me is the storytelling. The main quest was fantastic, but the guild storylines, easily some of the best in the series, with my favorite being the Thieves Guild. And yeah, I'm gonna say it, Oblivion had a far superior quest line compared to Skyrim. I know that might ruffle some feathers, but hey, that's just how I feel. So if you got some strong opinions about it, go ahead and share them in the comments. I can take the heat. Besides Oblivion, other titles were also pushing the boundaries of what games could be. Take Gears of War for example. With its brutal, gory combat and relentlessly bleak setting, Gears of War offered a stark contrast to the sprawling fantasy of Oblivion. It wasn't just a shooter, it was a raw, heart-pounding experience that delivered one of the best couch co-op experiences ever made. Its visceral, over-the-top action captured the essence of hopeless world where every victory felt hard-earned. Or how Saints Row gave me the ultimate outlet to live out my wildest fantasies of chaos. This first game started off with a more serious, grounded tone, a gritty look at urban crime and gang warfare, but eventually evolved into an outrageous, unfiltered, and hilariously over the top. That being said, I got an update alert for you. Turns out my choice for Game of the Year needed to be changed, so I had to go back and retcon everything when I realized that Kingdom Hearts 2 actually dropped in 2006. Before you go comment, yes, I could have just edited it out, but I already recorded all my audio and made my edits, so I said screw it, since there are probably some of you who would love to hear about some Oblivion love. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts 2 stands as a perfect case study in how to craft a sequel that honors the original while pushing the boundaries of innovation. In an era where many modern games strip away what made their predecessors great to accommodate flashy new features, Kingdom Hearts 2 takes a different approach. It preserves everything that works and builds upon it. For fans of the original, this means no unwanted changes. Instead, you get enhancements that elevate the entire experience. 2007 was packed with amazing titles that go beyond Game of the Year winner. Call of Duty 3 delivered intense World War II action with its first introduction of vehicle combat and multiplayer. Dead Rising gave us a chaotic fun of surviving a zombie-infested mall with anything we can get our hands on, and The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess brought a darker, more mature take on the franchise, delivering one of the most cinematic and beloved Zelda experiences. Revisiting the gaming landscape of 2007, I'm shocked by how many amazing titles used to come out in a single year. The nominees alone were heavy hitters. Mass Effect redefined narrative-driven space epic RPGs that was an introduction to video games where my choices actually mattered. Halo 3 delivered the epic conclusion to a trilogy masterpiece that I remember in 5th grade reading the manual, believe it or not when they used to have those, where they had a bunch of fun information for the characters and guns. And BioShock immersed us in a haunting, thought-provoking underwater dystopia, which to be blunt with you, used to creep me the fuck out. While the official nominees were in a class of their own, there are plenty of other titles that brought their own unique flavor to the scene. For instance, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare redefined the shooter genre with its cinematic action scenes and groundbreaking multiplayer, creating a tense, immersive combat experience that felt like you were, just as the title suggests, right in the middle of Modern Warfare. In a completely different realm, Crysis pushed the boundaries of what games could achieve visually and mechanically, delivering an FPS experience that combined cutting-edge graphics with intense superhuman abilities powered by a highly advanced technological suit as you become the apex predator in a tropical jungle island. Then there's Guitar Hero 3, which transformed gaming into a live performance where every strum and riff felt electric, capturing the raw energy of rock and roll and letting you channel that adrenaline, especially when you're trying to 100% through the fire and flames. Meanwhile, Assassin's Creed took players on a journey through meticulously created historical settings, offering a unique blend of stealth, parkour, and narrative depth that immersed you in the Third Crusade in the Holy Land of Jerusalem. Uncharted is and was the start of what defines a true adventure game, combining treasure hunting with blockbuster levels of storytelling and thrilling set pieces that made you feel like you were starring your own action movie. And let's not forget Stalker Shadow Chernobyl, which plunged gamers into a haunting post-nuclear wasteland of the zone, where survival was much as about unraveling a deep, eerie mystery as it was about combat. Out of all these amazing games, BioShock won Game of the Year in 2007, and I couldn't agree more. It was the most unique experience that year, with its haunting underwater utopia gone horrifically wrong, creating a constant sense of uneasiness that kept me on edge. The game introduced us to iconic figures like the Big Daddies, whose imposing presence still resonates today, and delivered one of the best narrative twists I've ever seen, that frankly I never saw coming. As we wrap up 2007, would you kindly keep watching as we move on to 2008? This year, I'm really torn about who should have won. This was the battle of the sequels for these nominees: GTA 4, Fallout 3, Little Big Planet, Gears of War 2, and Metal Gear Solid 4. And while GTA 4 was the victor, I just can't shake the feeling that it wasn't the right call. For me, the real battle should have been between Fallout 3 and Dead Space. Fallout 3 offered an expansive, immersive, and wacky open-world RPG experience that let you shape your destiny in a nuclear version of Washington, D.C., the capital wasteland, while blending deep narrative choices with an intricate leveling system. On the other hand, Dead Space delivered a visceral horror experience with its relentless tension, atmospheric storytelling, and groundbreaking visuals that truly redefined the survival horror genre. While my ultimate bias has always been Fallout 3 since it's my favorite in the franchise, I have to admit that, in the end, it's Dead Space. I've played other intense titles like Fear and BioShock, and while they were undeniably crazy, nothing prepared me for the sheer paranoia I experienced with Dead Space. I was practically jumping at every bump, almost instinctively shooting at shadows and imaginary threats. The level of tension was so high that ironically, I often found myself seeing things that weren't there. It's that relentless atmosphere of fear, that feeling that danger could be around every single corner. It wasn't just about being scared, it was about being completely consumed by that terror. In 2009, it seemed like everyone was trying to compete who can create the most cinematic set piece or stealth beatdown game in the most unique environment. The nominees were Assassin's Creed 2, Batman Arkham Asylum, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, and Left 4 Dead 2, each a powerhouse in its own right. Assassin's Creed 2 transported us to Renaissance Italy, with its intricate historical narrative and fluid parkour, vamping up the gameplay by even adding a city building mechanic that led to us having more deadlier gear to execute your target with. Arkham Asylum redefined the superhero gaming by immersing us in this dark, chaotic world of Gotham, where you get to beat down all of his nemesis during a prison riot. MW2 ramped up the adrenaline with its even more badass cinematic and gut-wrenching moments that defined the generation of gamers with a simple phrase of "no Russian." And finally, there's Left 4 Dead 2, which pushed co-op zombie survival to its limits with its relentless horror mode of mutated zombies. Basically, just simple fun. Yet, it was Uncharted 2 Among Thieves that ultimately stole the spotlight. This game wasn't just about the thrill of adventure, it was about delivering an experience so cinematic and immersive that it felt like starring in your own blockbuster. The game's opening scene alone set the tone of the entire game as you climb up your way from a train hanging off a mountain cliff, bloody and wounded mere seconds away from plummeting to your death. Despite a year loaded with classics that would lead to amazing sequels, titles like Borderlands, Demon's Souls, Infamous, Resident Evil 5, and Halo 3 ODST, the only clear choice should have been Dragon Age Origins. Why? Because while each of these games brought something amazing to the table, Dragon Age Origins once again redefined what a narrative-driven RPG can and should be, or at least until the release of Baldur's Gate 3. It wasn't just about flashy graphics or adrenaline-pumping action. It was about diving into a deeply woven story where every choice mattered and every relationship was personal. The game challenged you to build a party of unique characters, each with their own backstories and moral dilemmas, and forced you to confront the consequences of your decisions, unlike Veilguard, where I'm pretty sure if you chose to kill an entire village of children, your entire party would still want to hang out with you. Sorry about that random tangent. I just beat the game recently and wanted to get a slight dig in. Okay, I promise no more Veilguard hate. Origins is probably my most replay game I've ever played, and I wish I can say I made different choices, but each playthrough, nope, I never did. 2010 was one of those landmark years in gaming where it's super hard for me to be unbiased, especially when I'm faced with Mass Effect 2 as an option. But we also have to look at the others. There's Red Dead Redemption, which is just GTA as an epic western adventure that pulled you into its gritty, sprawling Wild West revenge story. I know that I mentioned Red Dead had a great revenge story, but God of War 3 defined the word revenge as the trilogy comes to the most visceral end. Finally, Halo Reach gave a gut-wrenching story of hope and duty, while also making the best multiplayer experience mainly due to my fond memories of playing Griffball with my brother. What's even more impressive is how these games have shaped gaming history beyond their technical brilliance. They've given us some of the most iconic and memorable moments, scenes that still dominate countless top 10 moments in gaming videos today. Whether it's a heart-stopping foreshadowing in Mass Effect 2, the cinematic storytelling of Red Dead Redemption, or the epic set pieces in God of War 3 and Halo Reach, these experiences continue to resonate and influence the industry. Some other honorable mentions that came out that year were Fallout New Vegas, Fable 3, BioShock 2, and Call of Duty Black Ops. Red Dead Redemption ended up winning Game of the Year, but do I really agree with that choice? Honestly, I don't. That year was stacked with some of the most powerful story-driven games we've ever seen, and while Red Dead was incredible, I believe the award should have gone to either Fallout New Vegas or Halo Reach. Just so you know, I had to really resist adding Mass Effect 2 as one of the options. Fallout New Vegas is a game that doesn't just tell you a story. It hands you the reins and lets you decide how that story unfolds. Every faction you align with, every choice you make, doesn't just ripple, it reshapes the entire world. We're talking hundreds of unique outcomes, each path feeling authentic, earned, and radically different from the others. That's not just replayability, that's a level of a narrative freedom most games still struggle to achieve today. On the other side, you have Halo Reach, which might be one of the most hauntingly beautiful tragedies in gaming. It never has to shout out its message or spell out the futility of your mission. You feel it as you push through battle after battle, knowing deep down that no matter how hard you fight, humanity is going to lose reach. It's a game where your victories are fleeting, your sacrifices are crushing, and your heroism is defined not by saving the day, but by how long you can hold out before the inevitable. As much as I desperately want to give it to Halo Reach, especially since the FPS genre rarely delivers that kind of nuance and emotional depth, I ultimately have to side with Fallout New Vegas. What tipped the scale for me was just sheer complexity of its design. This isn't just a game with multiple endings, it's a living spiderweb of choices and consequences. Every decision you make, every faction you back, every alliance you break or forge sends a shockwave through the world, reshaping not just the main narrative, but dozens of sub-factions and side stories tied to those four major powers. It's a kind of systemic storytelling that makes you feel like the architect of your own legend, rather than just a passenger along for the ride. 2011 was another great year in gaming, with a lineup of nominees that showcased the industry's incredible diversity and creativity. The contenders were Batman Arkham City, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, Portal 2, Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception, and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The obvious victor was of course Skyrim, and it's easy to see why. Even 15 years later, Skyrim remains an enduring classic, having been ported to virtually every console available. Its vast open world, rich lore, and modding community have kept the game alive and relevant, allowing players to return time and time again. The game's impact on the RPG genre and gaming as a whole is undeniable, solidifying its place in history as one of the most influential titles ever released. But the question still remains, did it deserve to win compared to some other major releases, like MW3, Dead Space 2, Gears of War 3, or the first Dark Souls, that spawned an entire genre that plenty publishers probably hate getting called a Souls-like game. And if you haven't noticed a pattern yet, Saints Row III also came out that year. And just to clarify, no, Saints Row can't compete with Skyrim, but I love the franchise and I'm going to mention it any chance I can get. Getting back on topic, no, Skyrim didn't deserve to win. And before you rush to the comments to crucify me for this blatant blasphemy, I need you to hear me out. When I judge a game, I look at three major components in a specific order. First, a compelling story. Second, fun gameplay. And third, art direction, which just means music, graphics, etc. And for me to plead my case to the court, there's going to be some minor spoiler warnings up ahead. Gears of War 3 grips you from its very first moments with a sense of impending loss and the weight of sacrifice. When Marcus mourns the fallen, you feel that sting of grief right alongside him. Whether it's watching Dom's heartbreaking decision to save his family at all cost, or seeing Coltrane's unyielding loyalty tested in the face of overwhelming despair, these scenes aren't just cutscenes, they're emotional crucibles that force you to confront what you're willing to fight and die for. By the final act, the bonds between Delta Squad feel earned. Now contrast that with Skyrim, where the story often casts you as this lone dragonborn with the destiny to stop a threat, but rarely gives you the truly personal stakes or the same depth of connection to the NPCs. The world's vastness can sometimes dilute the emotional core, making your epic journey feel more like a grand tour than a deeply personal saga. In Gears of War 3, you're never just a hero with a big gun. You're a brother and a comrade in arms. That raw human drama is what elevates its narrative above the vast but distant landscape of Skyrim, showing that sometimes the most compelling stories come from the strength of a shared struggle, not the scale of your freedom. Wow, I didn't really expect to get that philosophical on squad loyalty and sacrifice. But alright, let's lighten the mood and shift gears to our final year of this video. 2012's nominees showcase a remarkable focus on narrative and innovation, with contenders including Assassin's Creed 3, Dishonored, Journey, Mass Effect 3, and the Walking Dead Telltale series. While Assassin's Creed 3 expanded its historical scope, Dishonored refined stealth action, Journey delivered poetic exploration, and Mass Effect 3 concluded Shepard's saga with galactic stakes, it was The Walking Dead that redefined how games could tell deeply personal stories, making it the winner this year. The Walking Dead swept the VGAs, winning not only Game of the Year, but also Best Downloadable Game, Best Adapted Game, and more. It was a clear recognition of its emotional storytelling and player-driven choices. Telltale Games crafted an experience where every decision felt weighty, and the bond between Lee and Clementine elevated video games to a form of interactive drama rarely seen. Now, were there any other competitors that could have taken its place? I would say no. There were many standout titles, but they felt a bit safe. We got in great heavy hitters like Borderlands 2, Halo 4, and Call of Duty Black Ops 2, all polished, all fun, and all reliably delivering what you expect from their franchise. And yes, Diablo 3 did release that year, which I never played, but from the community praises, it probably could have competed. None of these games are bad. In fact, each one brought plenty to love, but compared to the wild innovation and emotional punchers we've seen in years past, 2012 just felt more like a year of solid sequels and groundbreaking leaps. Like I stated, it was a safe year in gaming, dependable blockbusters that kept the engines running smoothly without pushing that envelope quite as far. I have a running theory that games from this point out started declining, but that's for another video. Despite Mass Effect 3 being a formidable contender, after all, it wrapped up Shepard's saga with an epic scale and tough moral choices. Both games hinge on the weight of your decisions, but The Walking Dead distilled that concept into its purest form. Every choice feels like a desperate bid for survival, and every consequence cuts deeper, because you're protecting someone you've grown to care about, and you also get to see the results of your actions pretty immediately. If you've watched my previous videos, you know I love Mass Effect, and I've even made a full-blown video defending its ending. But when I look at which game truly reshaped our expectations for a narrative impact and left me thinking about my decisions, it's Lee and Clementine's story that wins my heart. Well, there you have it. Over the past 12 years, I revisited about 100 games, sharing my personal take on which titles truly deserve the VGA award. While some of my choices align with the official picks, I'd say most of them needed a retcon. But what do you think? Do you agree with the games I chose, or do you think you have a better pick? Either way, let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you got any value out of this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means a lot and it helps me grow the channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, game on.